In 1970, a frantic 911 call cut through the Hartford police dispatch. A young woman whispering into the receiver.
Please, you don't understand. It's not where I left it.
The police found no intruders, no broken windows, no forced entry. What they did find was a vintage, oversized doll sitting on the bed. And this is the terrifying anatomy of how a harmless childhood toy became a tool for absolute psychological ruin. Donna was 21 years old, a science-minded nursing student living in Hartford, Connecticut. To survive brutal hospital shifts and split the rent, she shared a modest second-floor apartment with her classmate, Angie. Their lives were painfully ordinary, coffee cups stacked beside medical textbooks, exhaustion, study sessions, and early clinical rotations. The apartment was built for medicine, not for fear. Then one evening, Donna's mother gave her a gift, a vintage Raggedy Ann doll she'd found in a local shop. It looked harmless, old-fashioned, nostalgic. Donna laughed, tossed the doll onto her bed, locked the apartment door, and left for a grueling 12-hour hospital shift. The apartment was empty, and the windows were dead-bolted from the inside. Nothing could get in, and nothing could get out. But 12 hours later, Donna came home, and the doll was found in a room it couldn't have walked into. At first, Donna and Angie blamed exhaustion. One morning, its legs were crossed. The next night, its arms had changed position. Small things are easy to ignore, until Donna came home and found the doll sitting in the middle of the couch, even though nobody had been home, and the apartment was still locked from the inside. Then, the notes appeared, old parchment paper, childlike handwriting saying, "Help Lou." That's when their friend, Lou, admitted something terrifying. The doll made him feel watched. A few nights later, Lou woke up unable to breathe, paralyzed. And sitting directly on his chest was the doll, its black button eyes staring into him. The next night, he heard movement in Donna's room. He turned on the light. The room was empty, except for the doll sitting in the corner. Then suddenly, burning pain ripped across his chest. Lou looked down, blood soaked through his shirt, deep claw marks carved into his skin. No signs of intruder, no explanation, and nowhere left to hide. They initially contacted an Episcopal priest named Father Hegan, who quickly recognized that the distress in the apartment was deeply rooted in something beyond its standard psychological strain. He escalated the matter to Father Cook, who immediately contacted two veteran researchers of the anomalous, Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens didn't immediately believe them. They searched for logical explanations first: stress, sleep deprivation, or carbon monoxide. They questioned Donna and Angie separately, looking for discrepancies in their accounts of the doll's movements and the origin of the parchment paper. But during the interview, the apartment suddenly turned ice cold. Ed Warren took one look at the placement of the notes and the texture of the doll's fabric, turning to his wife with a look that told her this was no standard haunting. The Warrens dug deeper into the apartment's history and uncovered something Donna and Angie had been too embarrassed to admit. Weeks before the attacks began, they had invited a spirit medium into the apartment. During the seance, the medium claimed the spirit of a little girl named Annabelle Higgins was attached to the doll. She said the child was lonely and harmless and only wanted permission to stay with them, so Donna and Angie said yes. When Ed Warren heard this, he immediately shook his head, because according to him, human spirits do not possess objects. Something else does. The childlike handwriting, the innocent appearance of the doll. It wasn't a ghost. It was manipulation, a trap designed to make them lower their guard, and by inviting it in, the girls had unknowingly given the entity permission to enter their lives, not just to haunt them, but to consume them. The Warrens decided the doll had to be removed immediately from the apartment and to conduct an episcopal exorcism of the property to sever the entity's attachment to the space. Father Cook performed the cleansing ritual, his voice echoing off the bare walls of the small rooms while Donna Angie and Lou stood in silence. But even during the ritual, something felt wrong. The air turned heavy, the windows vibrated, and despite the freezing cold, there was no wind outside. Ed Warren carefully lifted the doll by its cloth arm, refusing to touch it directly. Then he placed it securely in the back seat of his car for the long drive back to their home in Monroe, Connecticut. Even after the car finally came to a halt, Ed stared into the rearview mirror with a chilling realization. Whatever is attached to the doll is still there. Skeptics argue the entire case was the result of stress, sleep deprivation, and psychological suggestion. Donna and Angie were exhausted nursing students, living under constant pressure, making ordinary events feel increasingly sinister. Once fear took hold, every strange sound, every misplaced object, every nightmare reinforced the belief that the doll was alive. Even Lou's injuries have been explained as possible sleep paralysis episodes or self-inflicted wounds during panic attacks, yet some details remain difficult to explain. The parchment paper found throughout the apartment didn't match anything inside the home, and the deep claw-like marks on Lou's chest were never fully accounted for. The doll was eventually sealed inside a glass case at the Warrens' Occult Museum beneath a warning that simply read, "Positively do not open." Visitors often laughed at the doll's harmless appearance. According to museum staff, some of them later regretted it. Whether the story was paranormal, psychological, or something in between, the legend of Annabelle endures because it touches a deeper fear, the idea that evil doesn't always appear monstrous. Sometimes it just waits quietly for permission to enter.